Everybody and their brother is piling into crypto, hoping for those life-changing returns that you can't find anywhere else. But there's one big problem. There's also one really easy way to lose it all. And no, I'm not talking about panic selling on a dip. I'm talking about getting hacked, where, poof, your money is just gone, absolutely wiped out. Well, in this video, I'm going to break down one of the most creative hacks that I've seen in years and how, more importantly, you can protect yourself from the same fate. And I don't say that just as an investor, but as a blockchain developer who works with this technology on a daily basis. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below and subscribe. And if you want to see how to take advantage of all the insane opportunity happening in the blockchain space right now, I can show you how to increase your income by becoming a blockchain developer over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this. Let's talk about this absolutely insane crypto hack and how you can protect yourself against it. So this all began on September 11th, 2024, when a developer at Radiant Capital received a Telegram message impersonating a former contractor, including a zipped audit report disguised as a PDF. So when they opened it, it installed the Intel Drift macOS backdoor, which gave attackers remote control over the developer's device, okay? Now, then the file was shared internally for feedback, and that unwittingly spread the malware across the team. So what did this do? Well, basically, with the compromised devices, the attackers launched a man-in-the-middle attack. This is a classic thing in hacking, where basically they were able to use Gnosis Safe, all right? This is a wallet, a multi-signature wallet for crypto, and using a Ledger hardware wallet, all right, where the UI on the developer's screens appeared normal, okay? So basically, they just went in to go move money from one place to another. They opened up the wallet they normally saw, used the same hardware wallet they used every single day, all right? But whenever they went to sign the transactions, the malware that was installed on their computer and circulated around everyone's devices from this PDF, all right, it altered the transaction. So basically, they saw a normal UI, it altered it, it intercepted it, it altered it, and instead of having the intended legitimate actions, the developers were tricked into signing a transfer ownership call that gave the attacker control over the entire Radiant Capital lending pool contracts. So basically, they followed the best practices, they simulated the transaction, but they were still compromised, okay? So basically, the funds were drained really quickly, all right? Once control was acquired, the attackers drained about $50 million in assets from Radiant Capital's contracts across multiple chains. That includes Arbitrum, Binance Smart Chain, Ethereum, and Base. And estimates, of losses reach up to 58 million, all right, according to some sources. Now, some of these firms were called in to investigate, and Radiant Capital confirmed that the breach was likely carried out by a North Korean-linked group. And to add insult to injury, most recently, the Radiant Capital attacker actually doubled the stolen funds with a 93% gain in ETH. So, this is some dark stuff here. Basically, this person goes in and hacks Radiant Capital, walks away with $50 million, and then essentially walks away with 9 figures in crypto and outperforms most people in the crypto markets after this attack. All right, so that's pretty much a summary of what was happening with this attack. Essentially, they downloaded something on their computer that was just a Trojan horse, essentially. It was malware on their computer, and then they went to go use an application that they use every single day with a hardware wallet they thought they could trust. They simulated the transactions, and still their protocol was taken over, and they lost all types of money. Now, I know this is really about, people building software, but this also applies to everyday people, all right? Whether you're a developer or you're just holding crypto, all these lessons have to be internalized if you're interacting in this space. So what are some lessons that you can be learned from this, and how can you keep yourself safe? Well, this attack makes it crystal clear, all right? Hardware wallets can't save you if your machine is compromised, all right? Blind signing something on a hardware wallet, still remains a major threat until the UIs, while UIs can still be spoofed, all right? So you can be phished from familiar channels like Telegram or even email. All right, especially if you use Telegram and you're in crypto groups, like trying to find coins or network or whatever, right? There's lots of ways that people can pretend to be somebody else on Telegram and, do something like this to you, all right? Basically, obviously, not having any types of governance safeguards, like revoke functions or time locks, All right. Also, device hygiene and front end security are critical. All right. But I don't want to talk about all those things that are maybe more developer centric. We can talk about some of those in a minute. But one of the biggest takeaways is essentially hardware wallets. Okay. Hardware wallets give people such a false sense of security. All right. They're a mixed bag. Like, yeah, they have some security benefits, but some people carry around this little USB thumb drive and think that, oh, all my crypto's safe. Like, nothing can happen to me. Well, that's clearly not true. If, highly skilled, highly intelligent people who are operating a protocol like Radiant Capital can be spoofed and then sign a wrong transaction with a hardware wallet that works. Because you have to understand, like, nothing about their code was bad, all right? Nothing about the hardware wallet was bad. Basically, somebody infiltrated their device and tricked them into doing something they didn't think that they were doing. They still authorized it. They followed all the rules, so to speak, but they got tricked. All right. So if hardware wallets aren't inherently safe, and if you sign the wrong thing, you can still lose your money, then what can you do to protect yourself? Well, there's really no one size fits all thing that you can do. And that's one of the reasons blockchain security is such a difficult thing to navigate. Everything has trade-offs. You have to choose what's right for your situation, but there are some principles that you can live by to increase your safety. All right. So what are they? Well, number one is that you can treat every single file on your computer like it's radioactive. All right. The Radiant hack started with a PDF that was sent over Telegram. All right. You don't want to be downloading random files, especially if they come from direct messages or people, even the people all right. Because I've even been in a situation where I've received something from somebody, late at night, thought it was somebody that I knew, downloaded it, and I was like, oh shoot, I didn't even double check to make sure that came from the right email address or the right Telegram account, all right? Maybe it used the same profile picture and then the username was like one letter different or substituted a letter for a number or something like that. And thankfully, I was safe, right? I didn't get hacked and lose all my money, but I've even caught myself, when you're just moving fast, not double checking that you know exactly where stuff's coming from. And even if you do think like maybe that person got hacked and sent you a file. So you want to treat every single file like it's radioactive, all right? You want to use cloud viewers, all right? You can use cloud viewers to view files instead of opening them directly. So if somebody sends you a PDF, you could say, hey, send me this over Dropbox, okay? And or whatever, right? Whatever cloud viewer you want to use so that you can view the PDF in the cloud but not ever actually install it on your computer. Same thing for videos, any type of file format that could potentially house some other, malware on your computer. All right. So another thing is you never want to blind sign anything. This is where people go really wrong with hardware wallets. They have this thumb drive they think is going to give them this false sense of security. But most hardware wallets, when you go to the final screen to agree on the signature, it's got this especially if you're interacting with a smart contract, it's got all this just hex data and nobody can read that stuff. And they're like, okay, looks right, and they click send, right? Or even if it's just moving crypto from one account to another, and then they see the address, well, the address looks mostly like what I see on the screen. They don't actually go through and verify character for character, okay? Now, that may not matter if you have a crypto wallet that's got $5 in it, right? And you're just, slinging coins around. But if you're talking about any substantial amount of money, you want to be a lot more careful. Okay, that's essentially blind signing. Another takeaway is you can always assume that your machine can be compromised, all right? A malware can inject something on your computer that can manipulate your user interface into thinking that you're approving something that you're not actually doing. It's not actually safe. All right. You could essentially have a clean device that's for signing transactions, ideally separate from your everyday browsing. If you're a developer, again, this is a heavier topic, but you can use stuff like time locks and a circuit breaker. All right. Basically, Radiant had no time delay. They didn't have the appropriate governance protections. But if they had these things in place, they could buy precious time. All right. Finally, one thing that I think is a principle that applies to everybody, and is a good principle to live by. Again, you have to decide what's right for you, is essentially segmenting your risk. All right. That can look like a lot of different things. Like let's talk about the opposite of that. The opposite would be like holding every single coin, every single cryptocurrency that you have in one wallet on one blockchain in one address, right? Or keeping it on one cryptocurrency exchange, everything in one place, all right? Because if that thing fails, everything's gone, right? If you get hacked in that one place, everything's gone, right? So if you diversify where those things are held, then essentially you're reducing some of that risk. So what could that look like? Well, people say don't keep funds on cryptocurrency exchanges. In practice, a lot of people do keep funds on cryptocurrency exchanges, even if it's small amounts. So maybe some could be there. If you don't want to put any on a cryptocurrency exchange, I understand why. If you want to keep everything on chain, maybe it looks like using multiple different wallets All right, not just different addresses in the same wallet UI, but like actually different wallet softwares, like MetaMask versus Phantom across different blockchains if you're holding that. So if you hold USDC, maybe some's on the Ethereum mainnet, maybe some's on Base, maybe some's on Arbitrum, okay? Stuff like that, okay? Where basically you're spreading this stuff out around. Now, it does have trade-offs where now you have to manage all this stuff, keep track of more private keys potentially, but it does, essentially keep the attack vectors less. Now, of course, unless you just write down those private keys and put them in the cloud somewhere and then somebody finds them, then of course you're absolutely toast. All right, and the last little takeaway, and hear me well when I say this, which is you want to stay paranoid, but essentially productively paranoid. Basically, the biggest danger is complacency, thinking like, it's never going to happen to me. Well, I've been hacked before. I can tell you that it is possible. I didn't lose everything, but it was enough to make me very vigilant about this stuff, all right? And when something feels off, a little weird in your direct messages, and you've been through it before, you'll know that you want to stop, pause, double check. Because a rushed transaction can ruin your life. You want to learn to trust your gut, double check things, slow down whenever you're moving money around on chain. All right, so that's an overview of one of the most creative crypto hacks that I've seen in recent memory. All right, and how this was engineered on this person's computer, how they're able to walk away with $50 million plus and actually nearly double that money, all right, in the crypto markets by trading ETH, outperforming pretty much everybody, because let's be for real, most people lose money in crypto. And those are also some ways to help protect yourself from this type of thing and how to really just practice the best security measures that you can to keep yourself safe in crypto, because the last thing you want to do is lose your seat on the rocket ship. I hope you like this video. As always, smash that like button down below, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And if you want to take advantage of all the insane opportunity happening in the blockchain space right now, I can show you how to increase your income by becoming a blockchain developer step-by-step from start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You really don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.